quality, consistency, and the quickest turnaround times in the grading industry, we are proud to partner with SGC Grading. Check them out at www.gosgc.com. Experience, quality, consistency, and the quickest turnaround times in the grading industry, we are proud to partner with SGC Grading. Check them out at www.gosgc.com.
Hi, I'm Danny Black.
And I'm John Newman.
Welcome to Cardmensches. Well, welcome to episode 46, 47, something like that.
46, I believe.
Before we get started here too quickly, I just want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Stadium Insurance. Guys, if you have a collection, you need it protected, check out the Stadium Insurance app. Easy, snap a picture, and get covered. Also, I know a lot of people are starting to check out CIA auctions. That's Collector Investor Auctions. That's Texas Snowman and Chris Sewell, and they are really doing a fantastic job over there. I've heard nothing but good things, and they are growing quickly. So CIA Auctions, and thank everybody for that.
And that's cool. If you win an auction, you can tell people you bought it from the CIA.
Exactly. So what are we up to tonight, buddy? How are you?
Not much. I just got back from vacation with my wife. Everyone's favorite national venue city, Atlantic City. There's I know it gets a bad rap, but like if you stay on the beach in a resort on the beach and just it's not a bad way to decompress and get away from the everything. And it's back to school time next week for me. So,
well, what are we talking about tonight?
So, we just had, and I didn't go, you went, we just had Fanatics Fest in my hometown, not Manhattan, but New York City. When, a lot of people are drawing comparisons between that and the National, and the National's better. I like Fanatics Fest better. And so today we're just going to talk about, why do we have to have a favorite show? Why can't we like more than one show? And things pertaining to shows, and why do we always compare shows? And sometimes when we compare shows, this is a point you brought up off the air. Sometimes we're comparing shows that really shouldn't even be compared to each other because they're really different criteria. So that's what this episode is. It's going to be a show about card show and sports shows.
That's very deep. I'm proud of you on that one.
It's almost like a Seinfeld, a show about
a show about
whatever.
Shows. Yeah, or a show about shows.
I don't know if it's a good description, but that's what it is.
Well, it started because I did go to Fanatics Fest, and I wanted to go.
I think that's the comment of the night right there, Danny.
Well,
right, your favorite show is the one that you're at. Yeah,
it's a great comment, but we're not giving the award away yet.
Right. Well, now it's the leader in the clubhouse.
Ruben making a good point. Hello, Mark Hoyle. So I went to Fanatics Fest, and I went just because I wanted to see what it was about. I didn't go because I loved it. I didn't go because I hated it. I went with an open mind, just to see what it was. And
you can't hate it if you had never been there yet. You can't.
Plenty of people in the hobby did. If you ask people before Fanatics Fest,
that's not fair.
Well, that's the point of the show tonight.
Yeah, that is. All right, there we go.
Fair
it
enough.
All comes full circles. Now I know why I'm here. For a minute, I'm like, what's going on?
The show about shows. So I guess my first question is did anybody else go to Fanatics Fest? Or is your initial reaction, heck no, would never go? And I think I heard from a lot of people beforehand saying, heck no, they would never go. And it was interesting.
I'm going to venture a guess before we get the official test. I don't think this chat room many people went, and I don't mean that in a negative sort of way. Like, you know what I mean? I just don't think it's the MO of a lot of the guys. I could be wrong. You know, if someone did. I had want to Mensches. There we
Mensches.
go. What city would
it's
that
really
be
just a
held
good
in?
dinner. It's more like a good dinner.
There's a question. What city should Mensches be held in if we only could pick one all the time?
Oh, obviously Baltimore, but but don't you think that most people going into Fanatics were, if you took a poll, were negative on it in hobby socials, or do you think the hobby was excited for it?
I think it was both. I think people who were going, let's be real, I think everyone that was going was excited for it because it was the first one. No one had an idea what it was going to be like, right? I think then the other half of the people who didn't go, I think half of those would hate on it, and the other half were like me who didn't go. But I asked people who went, what was it like? What did you think? Give me the pros, give me the cons. And so I judged it on people who actually went. But I didn't prejudge it.
Well, Mookie's comment's interesting. What's up, friendos? I was at the East Coast National, and several dealers said they had out-of-towners who were visiting for Fanatics Fest and decided to do the East Coast National as well.
I want to ask Mookie and everyone else. There's a little backstory there. You know it, right, Danny? You know about this, right?
I do know.
So for those that don't know, Fanatics / Michael Rubin tried to buy the East Coast National. The East Coast National said, we're not selling the East Coast National to you. So what did Rubin do? He scheduled Fanatics Fest the same weekend as East Coast National as kind of Bafungu to the East Coast National. So I want to ask Mookie, how was the attendance? Did you now let me ask you this, two-pronged. If you've been before, was the attendance on par from ones you've been before or lower, or if it's your first time, how was the attendance in your opinion?
Absolutely. And, a couple of weeks after the National is tough for a lot of dealers. I wanted to put this back up here because this is how I almost described it to you exactly. It's like a fan fest. And it had a card show portion off to the side, but it was much more like a fan fest. Here, Mookie says East Coast National was very healthy, on par for sure with last year. Well, good.
All right,
good
so
for them.
So back to Michael Rubin, East Coast National said back to you, right?
And there's no truth to the rumor that you had to wear all white at Fanatics Fest.
That's not a good idea for me in more ways than one.
Right.
That's all I'm going to say.
And a happy Labor Day weekend to everybody, by the way.
Yes. And if you're in the teaching or school industry, welcome back to school. Yeah, or you have kids that still go to school.
Yes.
I got to so there's preliminary talk between me and the group of dealers I set up with here in the Syracuse shows about setting up at the East Coast National. I don't know. Like I told them, I don't know how there's a waiting list for table space, if you can even get in there, but we're at least going to probably attempt that next year. So, and I'll invite Michael Rubin if he wants a table too.
I'll confess, I've actually never been.
It's been years. I'm not gonna if you ever hear me tell my Mr. Mint, my brush with Mr. Mint story, that happened at an East Coast National many moons ago, 85 to be exact. And I probably went to a couple after that, and that was like the last ones that I've been to.
All right. And getting back to the point of our conversation, everybody was comparing Fanatics Fest to the National.
Yeah.
And that's
but you as someone who went, you told me it's not, you can't compare the two shows.
It's apples and oranges. And Mookie says 500 tables at the East Coast National. Just try and stay out of the basement. It's less busy down there. I mean, the 500 tables. I don't know what
size show.
I would wonder if anybody saw a number at Fanatics Fest, because it didn't feel like 500 tables at Fanatics Fest. I got to tell you.
Of dealers, you mean?
Danny. John, I think I've been busted.
See, I don't have to look off camera because my teleprompter is in front of me. Tells me what to say. It's my chat GPT show teleprompter. So I don't have to I'm looking at it and talking at the same time.
Hypothetically, the Orioles are up 1-0. Hypothetically. Anyway, I would say that it did not.
You got busted though. Ruben's on the ball, man. That's
I know. I'm absolutely fessing up to it.
I didn't catch it, but I knew I knew about it. I didn't catch you because I knew about it.
I've been doing this for a lot of years. This is
Ruben didn't know when he caught you. That's the difference.
This is one of the first times anybody's ever caught me. And
be a Mets fan. You don't even care about the game anymore. You can just focus on the show.
It's
for those that are wondering, the Mets, the last check, which I don't even care, the Mets are losing now to the Chicago White Sox of all teams.
Well, that's pretty embarrassing. So
but I can't listen. It's par for the course.
Everybody was comparing Fanatics Fest to the National, and I think it's apples and oranges. The National is a card show and memorabilia.
So what's the definition of card show? Because if the deal is set up at the Fanatics Fest, it's a card show within maybe a bigger event. So,
well, it was a card show off to one side of the show as part of 4-1 Mets. John, keep that name.
See, I use reverse psychology. I'll keep besmirching them and they'll win. So I use reverse psychology. That's the trick.
That's hysterical. Now I'm self-conscious, Ruben. But I think the National is where I would go to buy a card. I cannot see myself anticipating finding a specific card at Fanatics Fest. I might browse to see more modern stuff, but I wouldn't go there expecting to find, the National, they say if it's not there, it's not anywhere. That would not be the motto of Fanatics Fest. Fanatics Fest would have a lot of sports fun, run the 40, watch Adam Schefter up on the stage, listen to panels with athletes and industry insiders, and there's a card show over on this side. And it was what it was, but I wouldn't go back there to go there for the card show, if that makes sense. I would bring my kids back and enjoy the whole thing like one big.
All right, this is only an opinion. This is only a guesstimate. Of the dealers, did you walk around where the dealer tables were?
I did.
What percentage of them, and again, you don't know officially, but if you had to guesstimate, what percentage of them also set up at the National, would you say? Is it 50%? Is it 25%?
I would say that's a great question. It was definitely, I think, a lower percentage than I would have expected. But to be fair, Fanatics Fest, from everything I've heard, was expensive as heck. Used to have card shows at Timberwolves games. People came for the game, but some went through the card show. It's cool that some players looked at cards. Yeah. I mean,
I'd like to see more of that. Like they do a show now at Fenway Park. I like to see more stadium type events, and not just baseball. Like Stooks just said, that's NBA. We can have it in any sport, right? How about a football? I know football is a huge tailgate stuff, so you're not going to get a lot of people necessarily coming in the stadium early. But maybe at a basketball, baseball game, You know, last year I contacted the Syracuse Mets with floating that idea. I didn't get much response. Might be time to do that again. But I'd like to see more of that. I think that's good. And I think you're going to see Fanatics do a lot, some of that stuff as well.
Did you hear Burbank just rebranded itself as the West Coast National or the West Coast?
The West Coast Card Show.
West Coast Card Show. They want to be the West Coast National.
We can't use the national name.
I know. But I think
maybe you. Well, how does East Coast National do it? Well, now we know how they do it, but before that, they do.
Do you think that was a smart move? I think that's a brilliant move because that's supposed to be a great show.
What does it really change?
It takes it away from it being a Rob Varish.
It's the same show. Like if I come on next 2 weeks from now with Mensches and I say, "Hey, I've legally changed my name. My name is Mike Appleby," right? It's still me. So
Mookie says, I've been in the Javits Center for Comic-Con multiple times.
Wow, that's a big listen.
Yep.
I've been in there too, not for an event, just kind of walking through. So, but that's a big statement from Mookie here.
I'm not sure Mookie's wrong on this one.
And you were there, so
yeah. I gotta say.
Now let's assume that to be factually correct or close enough to call it. That's a big deal because I think if you're Ruben and the Fanatics group, right, you're basing how the first one did with how many of these you're going to do. There's going to be another Fanatics Fest, and it may be somewhere else, and it probably will be at a different location.
I think the next one is what, Orlando or somewhere else.
Yeah, but if you come out of the box and you have just an okay one, that's going to kind of kill your vibe a little bit of how many of these you want to start. I know Ruben's got like a big bank account, but you don't want to lose. He didn't get rich in the first place by losing deals.
And you're talking about Michael Rubin.
Yeah, what did I say?
Not Ruben Snyder. I would just.
Oh, yeah, Michael Rubin. Rubin.
Good Shabbos. Thanks, Larry. But can you compare Strongsville?
I've never been there. You've been there? I haven't.
Ruben says the Pittsburgh Fanatics Fest just got canceled already. I got that in from my LCS today. Very interesting.
Is that a joke, or is that? I didn't know even Pittsburgh had one scheduled.
Neither did I, but
with Ruben, I don't know if he's like, is that tongue in cheek, or is that like a real nuisance?
Well, if it is real, it seems kind of makes sense that they would cancel it. Do you need a Fanatics account to have a card booth at Fanatics Fest? I think that's part of it. I believe there is definitely incentives and
25% off if you wear all white.
No, it's legit on the Pittsburgh Fanatics Fest.
Yeah, well, how about that? There we go. Breaking news from Ruben and then confirmed by Warren.
Warren
is the second. That's called second source in
journalism.
Yeah, Warren is
Strongsville is my jam. Warren says. So Warren, this is my question: do you feel like you can compare Strongsville to the national or Strongsville to a regional show? Because I don't think we can compare it to Fanatics Fest. I think it's two different types of shows.
But can you compare? Not to ruin your. I'll let Warren answer that too. But that's a smaller show. Like, can anything?
But if you're looking for just vintage, I think you have a very close chance to have. Well, the National's obviously going to be more, but it's Strongsville I missed this year last minute, but in the past, I felt I could find almost anything vintage in Strongsville. Hodges says you can only compare Strongsville to Strongsville. Well, that's part of the magic of it. Warren says they are different, but I'd rather be at the smaller show like Strongsville.
See, there you go. That's why you don't have to have really a favorite. You can like all the shows, but prefer one over another, right? I go to multiple shows.
Yeah.
I
And
love Stukes' comment right off the bat, right? It's the one I'm at is my favorite one, right?
yeah. Well,
It's that
for
saying
people,
like a bad day fishing is better than a good day at work, right? Well, a bad day at the show is better than a good, just being at the show. So
this one's for you.
well, this is Dan Ryan who's lives in the Syracuse area, like me, and the next one, Dan, is September 8th. Next, not tomorrow, not this Sunday, but the following Sunday at the fairgrounds.
Doing your normal
There you
thing. You want to give a shout out to you want to give a little commercial. If you're coming to the show, bring your money and your
Bring
card.
your SGC cards for bulk sub. I'll be Syracuse Fairgrounds September 8th, in Watertown, New York, September 21st. That's a Saturday. There you go. There's my middle of the show infomercial.
We got to get you. We got to get you a custom commercial.
Well, it would change. You'd have to. It's a live read.
Warren says, because I love the intimacy of Strongsville, but the strength of the cards available is amazing and paces the national, in my opinion. Yeah.
That's a great line too. Steal a little
but
bit from Forrest Gump, but card shows are like you just don't know what you're going to get, and that's the beauty of show. What are you going to find? You're going to get a deal. Are you going to sell something that and make money? Even at what? And that's both ways. As a dealer, as a consumer, if you bring cards, the shows, right? There's no. I don't know if there's a bad. I guess there could be a bad show. I mean, there could be a bad show. Let's be truthful. I've had bad show as a dealer. Not too many, thankfully, knock on wood. But I've had a couple in 30-something years of 37 years of doing shows and going to shows. So,
well, I'm going to give a shout out to one of my local shows. Larry says he prefers Chantilly, but now that he lives in Nova. Now that he lives in Nova, it's easy to get to. Went to small shows when living in Denver. Yeah, Northern Virginia.
I hear a lot of good things. Have you been to the you?
I've been to Chantilly.
Yeah, I hear lots of great things. That's a show I need to get to.
I would like to know if anybody's been to Dallas and Chantilly, because I've heard.
I've been to Dallas. I've been to Dallas twice.
I have not been.
So I got you. I got you 2-0 in the Dallas column. You got me in Strongsville and Chantilly.
Dan says, NFL kickoff weekend for a card show will be fun. Lucky my Packers play on Friday in Brazil, so the kickoff weekend won't pull me away.
So I want to ask Dan, will his flight from Brazil get back in time to get to the show on Sunday?
Dallas, no Chantilly. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, the Dallas card show is good. I haven't been in probably 2 years. 2 years ago was the last one. Well, but it was good.
Stuart, are you saying that Dallas is no Chantilly, or you would take Dallas not Chantilly? Because I read that as Dallas is no Chantilly. Larry says Chantilly is great.
That's an interesting comment from Larry here too, because I've heard it compared to being a small national. So it's gotcha. I've heard that from different people.
Yeah, I mean Chantilly's also known as a big autograph show.
The national that checks the box with the national,
right? Which is interesting, and I got to be honest. Does anybody in the chat room go to a show for the autographs, or is it always the card show portion? Because if I'm not bringing my kids and they're not looking for a specific one, I can't think of the last time I went to a show for the autograph. And I know there's people who do. I guess if I had the right rookie card and the right person was signing for the right amount, but Koufax doesn't do card shows.
He does tidings though, but only like 2 to
They're,
3 a year.
they're a fortune.
Yeah, they are.
We priced this out last time, I think.
Yeah.
So how big are your shows?
Mine?
Yeah, the Watertown and the other one.
I thought you were speaking to everybody. Mine. So Watertown's the smaller of the two regular ones I do, at like 55 tables. Syracuse is about 120, and then we have a big one in December called the Mega Show, and that's like 160 tables.
Well, that's
there you go.
160 is not terrible. Ruben says
It's a-
cards first, and if there's someone's there I want, then it's a bonus. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Chantilly, I wonder how many tables that actually is. I feel like that's
every time I hear Chantilly, just the way my mind's wired, I hear the Big Bopper singing like Chantilly lace, blah 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 blah.
Face,
Yeah. So I can't get that out of my head.
Warren says, I'm not waiting in line or paying the extortion. They ask for signatures. I'll buy on eBay for a ton less.
Yeah, that's the problem. Like, even like at this year's National, like, I have Mean Joe Green autographs. Unfortunately, I've never met him. I would love
Larry,
to meet my football idol. But I can't justify like spending a half a day or more of my National waiting in line. So if anyone knows Mean Joe Green and can make that happen, let me know.
Right. Well, you can use your Lawrence Taylor contact.
Yeah.
Our club in the Twin Cities has monthly shows. Has monthly show for 48 years. Wow. Golf tournament member, Hall of Fame banquet after, fantasy baseball league, senior lunches, Twins 58 table show. Good mix. That seems
Man,
right.
look, they got a bunch of events.
That's the All-American. That's the All-American town right there.
That's great, man. They got a club, like they got events. Yeah. We need to see more of that, like in other areas too. Good for Stooks in that group, but we need to see more of that.
Mark Oil says, I don't go for the autos, but if the price is right and it's a guy I collect, I'll grab one. The local shows always have the lesser known players, which I like. That's a good point. John, Dan wants to know, do you guys have more fun shows now as an adult, or did you have more fun as a kid?
That's a tough question for me.
Great question.
It is a great question. I did my first show as a dealer. I was 15 years old at 1987, and I've really done them since then. So I've kind of done shows as a dealer. I will say this. I enjoy going to shows that I'm even not set up with because I don't have all that, the gear to lug and the full car to unload. So I like both aspects. I like the dealer aspect because usually you have a good show, you make some extra money to spend right back in the hobby or on some personal collection items. But I also like going, I like going to the National and not being set up and walk around and buy stuff and talk to people. So it goes back to Stuke's original comment, right? I like any show I'm at. And I don't remember, I know this is going to sound sad to say. I don't remember a lot of shows as just a kid not set up. You know what I mean? Setting up at age 15. Maybe, I probably went to less than two hands, counting on two hands of shows I went to as a kid before I set up as my first one on the dealer. So I'm kind of like Menudo. I really got indoctrinated. I'm like the Menudo kid of card shows.
Ruben says he has more fun now because he has money. Back in the 80s, shows were cool.
Where do I come up
didn't
with
get
this
much.
Sometimes I even make myself laugh.
Well, let me put up this comment here from Warren. Warren says, drink another Crown, John.
I'm not drinking tonight. This is just RC Cola. It's Royal Crown Cola, but it's no Crown in it.
Right. And I'm on the Coca-Cola, but there's no Coke in it anymore. It's just cola.
See, Royal Crown's hard to get here in Syracuse. I remember growing up on it as a kid in New York City. So in Atlantic City, they had it. So I bought a bunch and brought it back with me.
I'm trying to eat a little healthier. So my
Medudo.
So
Medudo.
my one
I
soda.
grew out of Medudo. I
Right.
should, but I'm sticking around. I'm like the Lou Pearlman now of Medudo. No moon pies. No.
Do you have moon pies with the RC?
No, you know what I grew up on? As going back to like you know what my breakfast was, which will explain some stuff. You know, I joke around. I never got my cavities from Topps gum because I traded my gum for people's cards. You know where I got my cavities from as a kid? Soda and Yodels. Remember Drake's, like the Yodels, which they still make? That was my breakfast. Yeah, the Yodels, the chocolate with the the swirls.
Isn't that Yoo-hoo?
No, I'm talking about the cake. Yodels, that was my breakfast. That was my breakfast. Yodels and soda. Breakfast of champions.
Stu said he was 24 before he went to his first show. He had to drive 4 hours to get there, growing up in the boonies.
Yeah, that's probably why maybe appreciate shows even more so because of that.
I think I enjoy shows much more now, and even if I don't make a purchase or sell anything, I definitely think I enjoy it more now. I think getting more friends in the hobby also makes it more enjoyable. You know, it becomes a little bit more intimate. The room becomes a little smaller.
I do like Twinkies, but Yodels was like, I don't know if it's because my grandparents bought them and stocked them and I kind of grew up on them, but I like Twinkies. I never kicked a Twinkie out of bed.
I'm not going to touch that one. Larry says, do you still have teeth eating Yodels and pop?
No.
No.
I have missing teeth. Luckily, they're more in the back than anywhere else.
Dan says, people always talk about kids in the hobby, but as a kid, the main thing that made it fun for me at a show was budgeting $10 on cards and people treating me kind. No need to have free stuff for kids.
Yeah. No, that's a good point.
Well,
and look, dude,
just treat them with respect and it goes a long way. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. And, you know, and now some of these kids, we all know, right, what they're walking around in their Zion cases and their money in their pocket. It's shameless plug. It's scary. I always try to, and I'm not just saying this because of dance. I always try to give, like, if I see kids at my shows, I'll give them something, whether it be a pack or some cards. Or I've had kids come up to my table and pick a couple bucks out of my boxes and then come up to pay me. And I'm like, it's your lucky day. That's free. You know what I mean? So I try to do stuff like that as much as I can because I remember, you know, being a 7-year-old kid in the hobby myself and people being very supportive of me back in the 70s and early 80s to date myself. So, you know, I try to do that now. And, you know, I'm in a position where I can, right? Giving some packs away and some cards away for free doesn't hurt me. It makes me, it's quite the opposite. It makes me feel good. So it's a great point by Dan Ryan, right? I'd like to see more dealers kind of do that. Not going to make or break you. And it's just good. And they, you know, these are the next group that's going to carry the baton forward in this race, right? Whether we want to admit that or like to admit that or not, right? That's, you know, I was 7 and now I'm 51, and there's going to be the new 7-year-old's going to be me someday, and that's just the circle of life. So I'm very cognizant of that when I see kids. I love to see kids, and the thing that really warms my heart, even more than just seeing kids in the hobby, is I'm seeing more kids, man, be interested in vintage cards and players that they were never even alive to see play. And that's always very cool to me. And I catch myself, especially I see it a lot, obviously at the National. I always catch myself like stopping when I see that and watching, almost like kind of in a creepy sort of way. And then the light bulb goes on and be like, okay, you can't stare, dude. You gotta go.
I was so proud. My son got an autograph at a show and he wanted Bo Jackson. my son is way too young to have seen Bo Jackson play, but just from hearing the stories and learning about it, this was awesome. He got to meet Bo, and now he's a Bo Jackson fan forever, even though he grew up years after his career.
I'm going to answer this question from everybody's buddy, Mark, right here. I'm assuming you're doing your first show, Mark, and you're asking this for that reason, and congratulations. Sign up for the first time. Any advice besides having cards, price, and having change? Yeah, I'm a pricer, so people have heard me get on that soapbox. I don't think that's a prerequisite. I think being organized, having your vintage card, 70s together, 60s together, 80s together. So if someone asks or they're looking, they can go right to that. I just did something tonight with getting ready for my show next weekend. Is I had kind of all my vintage in kind of one box. And today I sorted them by eras. So 50s, 60s, 70s. And yes, you can hate me if you want, but 80s.
Oh, that's not
right. 83 and older is what I classify as vintage. I know, get my picture, put it on your dartboard. So today I kind of, before they were just kind of all under a vintage box. Today I got more specific. So that's one thing, Mark, and you can do that, if you have like game used, you can put game used together. If you have auto cards, you can put so the better organized you are. So if someone comes up to you and says, hey, I'm looking for, I have mine stuff by team. So if someone says, hey, I'm like in Mark's case, hey, I'm looking for Red Sox, I can point to the box and boom, all the Red Sox stars are going to be in that one section. That's helpful. And sometimes they don't even have to ask.
What if Mark's only selling Red Sox players?
I mean, he's probably keeping those, and it's every other team. So if you go into Mark's table, unless he's probably selling his dupes. If he's got some Red Sox dupes, he's selling it.
Warren,
yeah, I'm off by 3 years.
I'm with you, Warren.
I'm off by 3 years. I kind of follow the 40-year rule, but I don't know much longer, honestly, I can.
Yep. And this is if you have memorabilia in the room, a backup table with shelving.
Yeah. Here's another thing I do, Danny. I think you know this, especially when you have more stuff than the table space you really have. I build up on my tables, so I will put shelving on my table and put like shoe boxes and monster boxes on the shelving, so it doesn't take up all the table. And people could pull the boxes off the shelving and then look through it whenever they want to. But I can build up and I don't take all the space, and I can put other stuff there in the meantime. So there's another tip from Uncle John.
And Mark, it's all about being comfortable with what you're doing, what type of stuff you're selling, what type of show. But John's right, being organized. I personally always like having a way to record sales, or if I have to write down somebody's number or something like that. Just I would say have a pen and paper with you, and make sure that
listen, Warren, if we were closer, I'd love to do that. It's crazy as it sounds. It's not. It's sort of fun.
That does sound crazy, but
the more organized you are, it's not even just for the consumer's benefit. It's also, in my case, for me as a seller. Because if someone asks me where something is, boom, I can find it. Here's the other thing. Let's be honest, right? Majority of us, right? If you're selling set up at a show, you most likely have some of the stuff listed on eBay. So if I sell something on eBay, it's easy for me to find and get that shipped out very quick by being organized.
I had to leave this up here.
I mean, well, I don't know if Ruben knows this or not.
That's why I mentioned it, because you are a pizza bagel.
I'm half Italian and half Jewish, so that's why I only one hand.
50-50, but we don't have to get into the exact percentages.
So my one hand, and then my other hand goes like this.
That's hysterical. Dan says maybe a nice sign that has your name on it. You're a super friendly dude, so inviting people to know they can talk to you. That is true.
When
and
I
so
first
is-
started when I first did my early shows as that young kid, like I mentioned, I had really poor bedside manner. I didn't talk much. I didn't say, "Hey, how you doing? Is there anything you're looking for? Who do you collect? Great day at the show." I didn't have any of that banter. So much so that one point I told this story on the podcast. I was sitting there once, and the guy said, "Hey, I'm interested in this card, but I'll wait till your dad gets back because I want to see if we could do a little bit better on it." He thought I was just sitting there because I had no game. I had no dealer game at that point. So that's another great point by Dan, right? Be personable. I try not to be too over the top. Like every person that comes to my table, I'm not like, "Hey, how you doing?" I don't want to be game show guy. "Hey, how's it going today? Welcome." There's Larry from Syracuse. You know what I mean? But
right. Where's the double point?
welcome. What are you looking for
You
today?
need money for cards?
So I do it not to that, not like embellished. I will talk. Well, here's the thing: when you've done shows for so long and you've done a particular show like my Syracuse, and now I'm probably in my 12th month of Watertown, you start to know people, so you don't have to like. I know people on a first name basis, so I can say, "Hey, Bob, how's it going?" And then they know me, whatever they want to say. "Hey, I'm looking for this," or "Hey, look, I just picked this up over at that table." Like I have that sort of bit now camaraderie with people. But when you're new to shows, you definitely probably want to, "Hey, how are you? If there's anything I can help you with, if you want to see something out of the cases, don't hesitate to ask me," that sort of thing. So it's a good show. Now we've turned into like show advice.
Well, both of us have done it. A Collector's Dream, Orlando. Hello, everyone. What is going on, Orlando? I do want to wrap up on some of the card show stuff. I don't want to leave it hanging out there.
Yeah.
Has anybody been to card shows out west?
Not me, Dallas.
Has anybody been to Burbank?
I've heard that one's good.
That's why I want to hear about it. Well, this is just good common sense. Let me put that. Just good common sense. Comfortable shoes, deodorant, water. Yep.
I will tell you this.
That's whether you're attending or working.
Yeah, definitely comfortable shoes. I will say this, man. For this year's national, out of the ones I've been to, this was the first time my feet really didn't kill me. And I wore 3 different shoes during the week. So maybe
rotate. I told you got to rotate.
So I think the trick is not even just comfortable shoes, because I wore one national, I wore Hoka's like the whole show and my feet still hurt. This year I wore those. I wore some Hey Dudes and something else I brought. And my feet really didn't hurt. My back hurt. I'm not going to lie about that. My lower back was barking, but my feet really weren't. I remember, breath mints are nice.
I go through them.
2 or 3 in some cases. I recommend it.
I pop them. I pop them all day like an addict.
Well, maybe you are a breath mint addict.
I just want to be ready, so I don't get caught off guard.
Well, maybe we'll see that commercial. Have you taken certs between the years 2012 and 2024?
I'm fine. I'm fine.
You might be entitled for conversation.
That's hilarious. So nobody's been to Burbank, huh? We have a very Midwest East Coast style.
Thank you, I think.
How do you want to take that?
Well, listen, I went to Atlantic City. I came back 4 pounds lighter because I skipped lunch there as well, and I didn't drink soda that much like I usually do. So,
Stux, is this your first time doing this show? Curious.
Fargo.
I've actually heard the Fargo show is good because there's nothing else around.
Here's an interesting question. What's the smallest show you've ever went to? So for me, I went once to a 20-table show.
40 years. There you go.
That's the smallest show I've ever attended. I've heard stories where someone walked into a show and there were 7 dealer tables. Can you imagine that?
That's not a show. That's a couple guys getting together.
Yeah, that's a card store inside a show. That's what that is. That's a true story. That's a true story.
Now, this is a weekend. The Bison football game Saturday and the card show Sunday.
There you go.
Never had regular big shows in Denver until I moved, and I was there 47 years.
That makes no sense, man. Denver is a big city. You got what? You got NBA. You've got, hockey hockey with the Avalanche now, and like, I'm surprised. I'm surprised by that.
I've been to a show with 5 tables.
Yeah, Vintage has 50 tables. That's my Watertown show. That's my monthly Watertown show that I'm doing. Which, by the way, I know I talked to you before. So starting in November, I don't think it's going to be every month, but starting in November, JSA is going to be at that Watertown show. So there you go.
You just did your Seinfeld voice. Who would think JSA would come to Watertown?
What's the deal?
They're gonna be
I don't
there.
get it. It's a small show. They're coming. That's crazy. They don't explain it to me. All right, there's my Seinfeld. My bad Seinfeld. Danny, what is going on?
Larry says we did have mile-high auctions. Well, I guess in Denver you do get that at least.
You want to hear my Newman impression when Jerry says, "Hello, Newman," and then he says, "Hello, Jerry."
Ruben says John is a master of his own domain. Yes, he is. We could do Seinfeld all night.
Yeah,
that's the perfect sitcom for this show. I don't know. I'm a MASH fan, but Orioles took the lead 3-2. I know everybody was very concerned about that.
Yeah, well, here's the thing with Zion too.
Newman.
I just had Clint on the show, double episode, as they all tend to be now. Even if they can't be there, but you want to represent them, they got to talk to you and get that. But they can get your product, and much like I do with SGC in the bulk sub. And no, before anyone asks, I have no plans to set up as a Zion. I already can't cover all the ground I cover now, unless someone wants.
Thank you, Warren.
Yeah, I like MASH too. I like it more as an older. When I watched it as a kid, some of the humor went over my head.
It's not a kid show.
No, I know, but I did watch it as a kid.
Yeah, no, definitely. I could put on almost any episode and enjoy MASH. But
yeah, here's the other sneaky thing about MASH. There are a lot of people before they were bigger stars that were popped in on that show.
Oh yeah, they're famous.
I just saw an episode that had Patrick Swayze as a young actor.
Yep. I think that was his first role, actually.
Really? Yeah, it was early.
Yeah. By the way, we always stay on topic. I don't know what you guys say. Yep, mic drop. It's MASH. Okay, real quick. I gotta know everybody's favorite sitcom.
Man, that's too many for me. There's too many. I like MASH, Seinfeld. I'm sort of embarrassed to admit I kind of watch Friends. I wouldn't say it was my all-time favorite.
Warren says I'm so confused.
I don't know. I was a big Saturday. I don't know if you consider it a sitcom, but Saturday Night Live back in the heyday was big for me. I don't know if that's a sitcom or
that's a variety show. Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah, that's a great one. I'm almost thinking
Beverly
two eras, right? Younger version.
Gold.
Three's Company. How about Three's Company? Beverly. How about?
I was a big Three's Company fan back in the day.
Yeah, Hill Street Blues. I was being a New York City kid.
Warren says, "Don't be embarrassed about Friends." I love it.
Yeah. How about Hill Street Blues? Anyone remember that?
That wasn't funny. That was serious.
It wasn't funny, but it had funny moments. They had characters on there like I can't remember the one guy would bark and stuff like, "Brr, brr," and I remember the captain like, "Let's be careful out there." You'd always do that.
Cheers is a good call.
Yeah, I like Cheers. Yep, that is a good call.
And Newhart. Yeah, I like
Newhart. I didn't watch too much. I was a big Carol Burnett kid. Carol Burnett show. That there's some skits on that to this day are still like classic.
WKRP.
Barney Miller.
WKRP in Cincinnati. The turkey episode, the Thanksgiving episode, might be one of the funniest single episodes in sitcom history.
Barney Miller. So just little side note to Barney Miller. If you remember the character Fish on Barney Miller, played by the actor Abe Vigoda. What are you laughing? I haven't even told you.
I already know where you're going with this. Go ahead.
Because I told you the story?
Yeah.
My grandfather, dead ringer, my grandfather on my father's side, so his name was Max Newman in Brooklyn. If you put a picture of him up next to Abe Vigoda, you would think they were the same guy. Dead ringer for Abe Vigoda, my grandfather on my dad's side. So there you go.
That was some good shows. I miss some of these shows.
Yeah, Carol Burnett, man. That some of the skits on that, the whole show was funny, but like the one that sticks out even to this day was the dentist skit. And it's funny when the characters break character and they're laughing and trying to deliver their lines at the same time. It's on YouTube. If you Google or if you search on YouTube, Carol Burnett dentist skit, it'll come up. One of the all-time funniest skits ever, any comedy series. I'll watch it every so often, and I've seen it. Like it's nothing that's going to surprise me, and it gets me every time.
And I do need to agree with Ruben and his assessment of the acting abilities on WKRP in Cincinnati. All right, we're on the home stretch here. Nobody's been to the West Coast, so I'm very disappointed. I actually wanted to learn about the Burbank show, and nobody's been. So we need to work on our West Coast following. If you know somebody on the West Coast and they enjoy cards and they enjoy fun conversation,
well, just because you're there, just because you're on the West Coast, California is a big state. It doesn't mean you're going to the Burbank or whatever it's called now, card show. I'm in Syracuse, and I haven't been to an East Coast National in double-digit years, and that's only 200-something miles away. It's not.
You're talking about doing a table there next year, so.
Yeah, how about Dukes of Hazzard? I watched that as a kid.
Oh,
not my favorite.
Knight Rider, 18. That was
18.
Yeah.
18.
I have a cigar. I love it when a plan comes together.
Yeah. I was scared to fly too, so I was like, I kind of lived vicariously through Mr. T.
He was your
the first time I flew was to go on my honeymoon, and I remember telling my wife, like, give me some Xanax. I felt like I was like, knock me out so I can get on this plane. Rockford Files, that's another one. Yeah, James Garner.
Evidently tonight's Nick at Night special.
But this is fun, man. Like you forget about these Happy Days. Happy Day. How we miss Happy Days? MacGyver, not much, but
I like MacGyver and Quantum Leap. But while we're at it, I'll admit to that.
All right. Anyone want to admit they saw some episodes of Murder, She Wrote?
Oh, big fan of Murder, She Wrote.
And any secret Lansbury fans?
And Matlock.
Not Matlock, but I did see some. My grandma used to watch Murder, She Wrote, so I kind of got roped in.
She was planning it.
Yeah. I've also seen Dirty Dancing probably over 100 times. Not because I like it that much, because my grandma had a thing for Patrick Swayze. And so she'd watch that movie over and over again. And if I was channel surfing as a younger, when I still lived at home with my grandmother,
Right.
And if you channel surf and she caught like a scene from Dirty Dancing, it's like she'd say, stop it right there. So if I saw it and I could change it to the next channel real quick, I definitely always tried to do that.
Ruben says the A-Team and G.I. Joe best is recruiting tools in the 80s for kids in the 90s. Stu's Magnum, anything in Hawaii?
Magnum PI.
Absolutely.
The Detroit Tigers hat.
And Tom Selleck's a diehard baseball fan in real life. That's
Is he
true.
really a Tigers fan, or was that a show gimmick?
No, he really is. If you look in all the movies, they're always related to the Tigers.
Yeah.
Hodges says he can still hum the opening song of Murder, She Wrote. That's funny.
Yeah.
Great
show. Don't it feel like, I don't know, don't it feel like the shows were better quality then than they are today?
No. I think
plus it was pre-reality shows. Like there were no reality shows yet to take up the airspace.
Mr. Baseball?
Yeah, that's a great card. Yeah, that's the Upper Deck card.
Selleck played basketball at USC. I did not know that.
I did not know that. So we learned something.
He was in the Celebrity Home Run Derby when it was at Oriole Park.
Did he get any?
I think he might have been the only person to get one out.
Yeah.
Yeah. A pretty good swing, actually.
Well, he's a big dude. I know he's over 6 feet.
Is it?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at that Mr. Baseball card that Ruben brought up with next to Frank Thomas, he's right there with Frank Thomas. I'm not saying he's bigger than Frank Thomas, but Frank Thomas is not dwarfing him.
Because I saw Clint Eastwood one time in real life and was very disappointed. He's like 5'7".
Who's that?
Clint Eastwood. I expected him to be like John Wayne.
Oh, really?
And
Billy Crystal's pretty tiny guy. I met him when I was probably 13 in Fort Lauderdale at a Yankee spring training. Talked to him for like 20 minutes. There was no one else around. And he wasn't that much bigger than me. And I was a little.
Did he talk back, or was that just you talking the 20 minutes?
No, he did. I was a shy kid, so he actually did. He carried most of the conversation.
Just says he thinks Eastwood has shrunk over the years. That could be.
Yeah, like dude, he's 90-something years old probably now.
Right. Frank in his prime was 6'5", 240. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, he was a big dude. Well, he still is a big dude. It's eugenics is why he's maintained that big dude status.
Warren says James Garner signed a receipt for me as well, as they were filming the end of the Rockford Files. I made him a club sandwich. So
I had some I worked in a gift shop in Brooklyn after high school. I went back to New York, and I carried out some expensive like knickknacks and dishes to some celebrities' cars and stuff. The biggest one I remember was Danny Aiello. I put some dishes in the back of his car. He gave me a tip.
Selleck is 6'4". Sorry. What did Danny Aiello give you?
How much?
Did he give you a tip?
Yeah, I think it was like $20, which back then was even more than $20 is today, right? Not a lot of small talk, but thank you, young man, and here you go, and have a good day, and so there you go.
I was just shocked that Selleck was 6'4".
That really but it was cool. He slipped it to me as if he was a mobster, like a kind of a handshake, and then.
Well, he is. Have you seen the movies?
No, I know, but it was funny. That's how I got the tip.
John, did you make Veritek a sandwich after he hit the dinger off you?
He owes me.
Ruben, Veritek made John his you-know-what. John.
Dude, I got him out to 2. I think he went like 1 for 3 or 2 for 4 of me. He didn't with the home run. That was a long shot. But I got him out too. It wasn't like he went 3 for 3.
I've had a few like John.
Yeah. So
all right, my friend. This got totally off the rails. I had a blast. I need this.
Fun. That's why you never know with this show. We start off with card shows and then we're talking TV shows. You never know.
I got a sore tuchus. I need a new chair.
And you got a bad Jerry Seinfeld, a bad Newman impression. Although there's no way I can do a bad Newman impression.
Well, it's not an impression if you're doing yourself.
Yeah. Well, I was doing the Newman on Seinfeld, so that wasn't good. But
yeah, it was a pleasure to see you, buddy. Both of us were out of town this week, so people don't realize that we really did catch up on this show.
yeah.
Happy Labor Day.
Your life's about to get busier. I'll let you.
Well, we'll talk about that next week, hopefully, or in 2 weeks, hopefully. Yes, my life is about to get much busier. All right, guys. Well, to everybody, thank you.
I'll say it. Well, I haven't said this in a while, so I think I'm due. Best chat room in the internet. I'm not even going to say hobby. Just the best group. That's why, right? For stuff like this.
Ruben, I'm just fat. Don't worry, I'm not pregnant.
I'm not fat. I am pregnant.
Thank you, Warren. And John, to your point, it is the best chat room in the business.
It is, man. These guys, and I don't know, but I don't know if we have any ladies, so I don't want to be. We appreciate everybody in the chat room. If you're watching live and you're shy, we appreciate you as well. I get that because I was a shy kid, so I get it. Some people are shy, nothing wrong with that. And if you just listen to us because you don't want to see our ugly faces in real time, I get that too. So if you're downloading us on Mondays, thumbs up to you as well.
All right. Say goodnight, John.
Good night, John.